I don't think that WildStar is a perfect game. I do have issues with it. I think that the questing was one example. The questing. I think that some of the things they've done with questing, so they've broken down each zone into a number of episodes, which are built around quest hubs. And they work because you get to meet the NPCs. It propels you around the zone, and you have a familiarity with what you're doing. You start to build bonds with the regions and with the NPCs and stuff like that, and it pulls you into the story. It does that better than Guild Wars 2, in my opinion, although Guild Wars 2 had a much more fluid mechanism. You just turned up and did stuff, and you didn't have to pick up a quest. I feel that
with no engagement.
Exactly. This is much better at propelling the narrative. But that said, I think that I miss the kind of epic arcs that we used to get in things like early vanilla World of Warcraft, where you had a huge storyline. Now, that's one element. I don't like the female character models because they all seem to be copies of the same base model, just scaled differently.
Yeah, that is something that you and I were tackling in the previous Cosmotronic.
And it's not because of the shape or anything, it's just because, although I know people have issues with the shape, it's just that
there's no variety.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no variety at all. They all sort of stand exactly the same. They all have the same body type. They all sort of have the same movements. I mean, I don't know if you've actually noticed this, Miz, but like, for example, if you take, like he was saying, the Draken. Well, you were saying Cassian's, but I'm throwing the Draken out. Yeah. You know, the female Draken stands just like a human, just like a Cassian, just like an Orin. However, the male Draken is hunched over, more animalistic. Yeah. And yet you don't get that variety in the females at all. But yeah, I mean, there are some issues.
I must confess, my preference is I always end up rolling male characters. So that's where
you get variety. Us women, we get to pick how tall we want to be.
Yeah, and so
that's pretty much what it gets to. And for the guys out there who play female characters, because you know there's tons of them, but you know.
Yeah. So that's a bit I have an issue with, and then there's a third bit which is a little lore, and I hate to rag on Chad more because I think he's a great guy.
Leave Pappy alone.
But, and this is a little bit spoilerific, but it's a tiny amount, and it's like 4 levels in.
Okay, so wait a second. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. And I probably should make certain to edit that in. But anyway.
So,
earphones alert. Earphones alert.
So, Exile starting area, you do the whole Arkship thing. You've probably seen it. Is you're going around and you are trying to look after Deadeye's wife and get her better and get medical supplies for her. And she's pregnant with child and stuff like that.
Which, might I add, is actually really cool. The fact that you have a pregnant NPC and she looks pregnant.
Yeah.
I had to take my hat off to that. That to me just shows that this is not just your average game. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So that was really cool. And then you go to Northern Wilds. And you're trying to get everyone to Fade, which is the Exile capital city. And about level 4, 5-ish, she apparently dies in an accident. And it gives...
Told you guys, spoiler alert!
Yeah. And it gives her husband, Deadeye, the kind of angst and drive and determination to
Are you suggesting he's not a happy bunny at this point?
He's not a happy bunny.
He's not a happy Orin.
But if you look at the backstory for Victor Lazarin, his wife died in childbirth and he blames the Dominion on it and blah, blah, blah. So it's like, we need this NPC to feel full of angst and rage and hate the Dominion and stuff like that. How do we do it? We will kill his wife. Come on.
I like the
Are we opening the filing cabinet marked angst and rage plot device? Are we saying there's only one full folder in that drawer?
So there's 2 arguments. It depends which way you take it. One is that, and this is a kind of, these could be great characters in their own right, fleshed out, detailed and stuff like that. And I'm really hoping that Deadeye's wife actually turns up later in the game. I really hope that happens, and she's like gone to the dark side because it's evil or something like that. Because that'd be really cool. Because she's got this huge backstory where she was a judge.
She's a human. She has the. Oh dear God! But she's a human. She has the ability to go Cassian.
Yeah, exactly. She could like be this massive betrayer or something, and it was all just to set up to hide.
Maybe she's the high priestess of the church, and that's why you can't see her face.
So there could be all kinds of stuff, and they could do something really cool with it, and it'd be like, oh, you, yeah. So that could be.
I'm quite sure that Chad is crying right now.
But
don't worry, Pappy. I still love you. Go ahead.
But it also feels like the only way you can make a male hero feel anything is if you kill his wife off, which is Cosmotronic.
Well, you need to ask yourself kind of this question. If you wanted to have really, really in-depth, enriching kind of stories, are you going to build that into an MMO? Where most of the people aren't even going to read the quest text, are going to skip through the cutscenes. Now,
is that not...
That's the thing. It's an MMORPG, which means there should be stories to it. But the question is, do you want to have that kind of depth in your characters? It's just a question.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, most definitely you do.
And here's the point. Okay, I myself do like to read all the quest text. I do like to watch all the cutscenes. I frequently get told off for stopping and smelling far too many roses on the journey to where I'm going. But even though the story is not the major rationale of why I play such a game, it adds depth and it adds life and it adds richness to the experience. At least it does for me. Albeit at the same time, the other half of my brain is going, come on, can we get raiding already? How do I get prepped for raiding? Where's the raiding? The whole time. However, to make a storyline or a character's depth weaker, off the back of the fact that there's a percentage of people that are not going to invest in it, surely becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you make it less interesting, less rich, less deep, then by definition less people are interested.
Well,
round and round and round we go. I mean, surely this is where the whole fifth pillar argument from SW Tour comes in.
Fair enough.
One of the few things
I'm going to throw out to both of you is the question from Lothax. Loathax. Your name is so difficult to pronounce for some reason. I'm really sorry. They state...
Can we call him Bob?
No. They state, you're disappointed with the story because it didn't go the way you'd prefer. Loss is a great motivator.
I would say that I'm disappointed for two things. First of all, it's using the same trick twice with two male faction leaders. And it's like carbon copy almost. That's what it feels like. It's like... We need to get the same feeling in both of them. So,
yes, repetitious plot device.
Repetition of plot device.
So, like, if it was like
coming around the corner we don't yet know about, we have to throw that in as well.
So it's sort of like, oh, you killed my father, or you killed my wife.
Yeah,
kind of a deal.
Exactly, and that's
can we leave the dark side out of this?
So that's my first issue. But the second thing is, it feels like it feels really simplistic. This is one of the things that I would really like to try and understand more about WildStar. And I know it's beta, and there needs to be more polish. And I'm going to really caveat this because we're still in beta. We're still going to get a load of polish. But I would really like to try and understand how they're trying to pitch it. Are they trying to go for like Saturday morning kids show humor, like Jason and the Wheeled Warriors kind of thing? Or are they trying to go for something like Invader Zim or Ren and Stimpy or something like that? And I'm not quite sure.
I'm going to pop in here, Miz, because there's a thought behind that. You know, we've seen some people playing through 1 through 15. We've seen some people reading quest texts and things like that. And there is this almost dichotomy between the way they advertise and the type of storyline they're telling. You know, there is some humorous moments in the gameplay, especially if you've looked at some of the stuff and well, I'm not going to go into detail, but simply put, there's a lot of humorous stuff. The storylines, however, seem to be incredibly serious. And like there is not as much of the goofball humor that you get from the dev speak videos or the hello cupcake. And the only time, and some may actually state that this is slightly immersion breaking, but you're running around, you're doing your quest, you're following the storyline, you're trying to find out why X happened to Z, and all of a sudden you get, way to go, Cupcake, because you've just leveled up. You know?
I'm playing a guitar.
Yeah. And there you go, Pseudo's air guitar. But my point is, what is it that is supposed to be the type of story we're expecting? Is it? I personally want a mixed story. I want times where I'm laughing, and I want times where I'm like, oh my god, that is epic. And then I want times where they meet, and then I want times where I'm sort of really sad, and then I'm really frustrated. I will tell you this. I want a really good reason to hate the other side. I don't want to just hate the Dominions because the Dominions are the opposing faction. I want a really good, solid reason to hate them.
But that hate has to be personal. It's not like trying to say.
I mean, in a character way, there is one thing to sit there and go, you kidnapped my leader and, held him as a slave forever, so therefore I hate you. That's one thing. But, if you're trying to survive and you turn around and right as you're about to get all the answers, somebody does something like blow something up and you're sitting there going, why? It could have an impact. But anyway.
Well, those are. It sounds like at some point we need to make an effort to get into the head of a certain Chad.
I'd love to have.
So maybe we should try and make that happen.
I would
I've
love
got
to
to be
talk
honest
to him
with
about
you.
lore.
I've got to be honest with you. Part of my opinion might be colored by the fact I've gone through Derudune several times. I've gone through WildStar's experience several times, and so trying to look at it with fresh eyes as a new player, it's a bit of a struggle. It's one of the reasons why I won't be the person reviewing WildStar, because it needs a fresh pair of eyes on it in order to really do it justice right from the beginning and from that initial scene setting. But also because it's early days in terms of polishing that narrative. That narrative can be tweaked and updated and so on all the way through until just before launch, pretty much, to really bring it to a shine and help them tell the story that they want to tell. Currently, it feels like a rough draft, or like a couple of drafts in, but it just needs that little bit more polish, I think, to pull it together. I think.
Okay, valid. Could well be valid. What we'll get at launch remains to be seen.
Yeah.
But I like to go back to the question you posed a moment, Pseudo.
Was it me or Lothex's question?
Quirky humor.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Lothex asked the question, and then you expanded to say, thanks, Bob. You expanded to say about the darkness in some of the storylines. And I find that blend, I do like that. The fact that it's not all fluffy bunnies to go with the cute graphics.
And cupcakes.
To go with, yeah, exactly. And I think there's a good mixed palette there for them to use. It just comes down to how it is used. What I will say is that different people, personalities, races, areas are starting to come across with their own flavors, and that I like. To me, from what I've seen, the landscape and the environment is a part of the story, and that's a good thing. And that's something that not all games seem to manage to hit.
I agree with that. And I also agree with the dist, which, might I add, I agree with a lot of the things the dist says, which we tend to bring up. We bring up a lot of the things you say in a lot of our shows because you seem to nail a couple of things on the head. But, he states, I quite
Hello, the dist.
Yes, hi. He states, I quite like the fact that it's funny on the surface, but as soon as you delve deeper, it becomes more serious and has a lot of depth to the story. Not just the lulls. Now, I have to agree with that. I am very easily drawn into humor because I love to laugh. It's one of the things that's amazing to me is laughing. So humor is one of the first things that hooked me on WildStar. However, you cannot keep my attention just telling me jokes. I will get bored. So the fact that there is some depth, there is, you might be right, Gazzy, in the fact that it doesn't seem like there's these over epic massive storylines that have these huge impacts that may take you like several different places in order to finish one full storyline, because you have to travel to 6 different continents and in 3 different moons and, you know, whatever. You may not see that right now, but there's always been those little areas and pockets of quests that
Yeah.
had an impact. And what I really like is the way that they use the zoning and the phasing, which is more client side than anything else, to
Mm.
actually apply the story. So when you turn off those generators are turned off.
Yeah.
You
One
feel
of the
the
things.
impact you have. So along
Yeah.
with the story, I like the way that they're using the technology.
Yeah. One of the things I do like about WildStar, which is a very subtle thing, is the fact that the world, when you initially look at it, looks like, well, it's standard sci-fi wilderness. Yeah, you go to Nexus and you think, oh, this just looks like a standard planet. There's plains, there's grasslands, there's kind of Arctic wasteland in the Northern Wilds. There's a bit of kind of tree jungle where with the orange starting area, but you don't think much more of it. And then you kind of realize partway through, well, hang on a minute, these paths that I've been running up and down, they're all woven into a pattern. That grass over there has shading etched into it, making this pattern, almost like a tribal weave, running all the way through it. That means that the entire world has been sculpted, not just on a we've arrived, we're going to terraform it kind of thing, but on a it's been sculpted by the previous occupant, the Eldar. And that leads you in when you hear more and more about this project that they were going on about, this mysterious piece of lore. You realize that that doesn't run through just what the Elden were doing and stuff like that, but it actually runs through the fabric of this world, because they were operating on so many different levels. And that pulls you in. The fact that the art style, the world building, and the lore all work together on a very macro scale. It's just a little bit of micro here and there that I get a little bit upset about.
It's worth commenting, actually, that the connectedness and cohesiveness, to attempt to get those two words out back to back without stumbling over them, is actually really quite impressive from what we've seen. Not only in terms of the scope and the scale of things, which takes you a while to wrap your head around. Oh, wait, it's big. No, wait, I was wrong. It's not big, it's big. And you kind of go through that more than once as you run around. But there are layers and layers of detail that connect, and simple things from the way that crafting is so interconnected into every other aspect of the game, and the way that housing is interconnected into so many other strands of the game. Everything is interlocked. It's not so much a system built on a system built on a system. So it's not a stack of things. It is indeed a Tadurkan. It is something inside something inside something. And we're hoping that none of them misfire or shoot anyone with greasy poultry along the way.
Well, see, the thing that I want to comment on from you guys, you know, you're talking about this, the Elden and everything that goes with it. I think one of the coolest things to me is that even the development team, even the art team, have no clue what the Elden look like. They made that decision very early on. They specifically said, we did not want it to influence art. We did not want it to influence anything. So why should we design what they look like? Because if the moment you do that, the moment you take this concept, it's a lot harder to build the mystery. And I think, in all honesty, you can feel that. You know, they may be talking in English or German or French or whatever translation you may happen to have for your game. But the reality is, you have no idea. A lot of people will say through the lore that the Cassians, their king is a direct descendant of the Elden, which was sort of a lore drop kind of a thing in the way back. But at the same time, how true is that, and how much is it propaganda?
Well, if you look at the Highborn themselves, not the Highborn, I'm thinking Blood Elves there. But,
yeah, you are.
Yeah, if you,
now I'm getting really confused by the law. So,
if you look at the Cassian nobility themselves.
Yes, the Cassian nobility.
If you look at the Cassian nobility, and particularly the ruling class, then there are genetic traits that they have which make them distinct. And yes, there is a kind of caste system which revolves around how far you are from that original point with Dominus coming to found the empire. That said, you're quite right. Was he half Elden, or was he half random genetic traits that they thought might be a good idea to poke into him as a bit of an experiment?
Breeding programs.
Exactly. You have
And therefore
to
they
think,
probably weren't that random.
you've got to think, if you were Elden and you wanted to have a planet which had a series of things in it, and you wanted to send out an invitation to come to your planet in, say, 1,000 years' time, so you're going to hide it for a while until you were ready for it to pop up and reappear for people. Wouldn't you like send an invitation out, let it stew for 1,000 years, become a bit of legend and mythos and, you know, almost religious kind of thing? And then you'd have this almost an entire race of people eager to go back and do your entire bidding and run like gerbils through the maze of tests that you've built on this planet.
Am I the only
Could be.
person who firmly believes that we're going to find out that the Elden are actually mice?
And Nexus is made of cheese.
No, and I expect them to be mice, and I expect to see, people talking about finding the answer and what is the ultimate question to the life, the universe, and everything. There seems to be almost
That
this
sounds
slight...
like a really good plot for a book, you know.
It does sound like a really good plot for a book, but yeah, I don't know. I can't shake the feeling that for some reason the Elden are sitting back, you know, drinking out of these tiny, tiny, tiny little chalices, and they're sitting there going, as they watch all of these like species come forth and stuff like that. It just, I don't know.
Have you seen the Lopp?
I have. I could totally picture the Lopp as the Elden. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh wait, no. No, it's not the Lopp. You know who it is? It's the worms you lick.
I would like to apologise for the randomness of this conversation for anyone trying to listen to
anyone
it.
Who has watched
head nor tail or sense.
Anyone who's watched the streams will know what I'm talking about. And it does sound kind of odd, but it's
kind of, yes.
So there's a frog that exudes a hallucinogenic compound in its skin.
It's a frog. That's what it is. Okay.
And
for some reason, I thought it was a worm.
Yeah. And when you lick this skin, you switch into a different phase where ghostly Lopp are all dancing. So Pseudo is now claiming that this frog that exudes a hallucinogenic compound through its sweat glands
is the Elden. Yeah.
Why is it that when Pseudo does that Lopp dance, I can actually really picture a Lopp?
Oh no! All I need is someone to take a picture of me and turn me into a Lopp. Have at it, folks.
You just need the big bunny ears.
So clearly we have a chewer, we have a Lopp.
I will happily be a Lopp. I will happily be a Lopp. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to make this conversation a little more lopsided for one moment. We promised people faithfully that we would talk about crafting, and the clock, it ticketh.
It does more than
ticketh. Should we touch upon crafting?
It's going to be a little difficult for us to go into the depth that I think we wanted to due to the timing as I'm looking at it and going, wow, we've actually kind of let time fly, but we've been having fun and down the rabbit hole.
Do the summarization of what
Go ahead. I will let you talk.
Do we just ask people what they want to do or be?
I will ask that question,
go into detail another time?
Yeah, I think next week we'll tackle some whatever new announcements come out from Carbine and WildStar, but I think next week we're definitely going to delve into crafting a lot more in depth. But yes, so we had a question come to us from Twitter, and I can't find the name of who sent it, and I feel really, really bad because, you know, when you get questions, I love to give credit where credit is due. So I apologize, but we're going to ask the question. I am going to say to you, Gazi, what crafting professions are you most excited about?
I thought you were going to ask, what is your favorite color?
What is the average
right.
flight speed or flight? What's the average velocity of a swallow carrying a coconut? I can't remember.
Laden or unladen?
Laden or unladen?
Yes.
African or European swallow?
I don't know. Phew! Now I am a lop. Okay, back on topic. What?
Okay.
And
is
what's
your
worrying
name?
is that conversation actually makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, are there any, and like your top two or your two big ones, crafting professions really tickle you pink?
So I got to be honest with you, crafting, making items, it's a bit of a mixed bag for me. Normally I enjoy making items, but I don't like being shackled to the workbench to make stuff at the moment. I want to be out and exploring the world because it's a nice world to go out and explore, and being shackled to the bench going, I'm making helmets, seems a bit of a waste of time. Not to knock Anrez, because I know he loves this stuff and I really like his live streams, but it's not my cup of tea. But what I do really, really enjoy is the gathering profession. So things like the mining, things like the survivalism, stuff like that, particularly the mining, because you go up there with your laser pickaxe and you shoot your laser pickaxe at the ore node, and then it erupts into this giant drone and goes, I'm going to eat you, little chewer, and you go, oh, crap. And then you run off.
I have that recorded. That makes me
And
the
that's the
happiest.
downside of being a chewer.
Oh, well, fair enough. Okay, I'm going to come back to you because I've got something to add to that.
Yeah.
But so for you, it's basically the
yeah.
gathering.
It's things, and also sometimes you end up with, like, you dig in and you get your ore node, and it reveals this entrance to a whole cavern full of ore. And it's like you climb in there and you go, there's so much ore, and you go and try and harvest it. Yeah.
You know, when you put your hands up like that, it really makes me think that you're a chewer. Just your hands going up. You look like a chewer. You really look like a chewer to me. Says the lop. Fair enough. Okay, Mizpah, for you?
Oh, I'm going to attempt to be sensible and not do what I always do, which is dive straight into crafting and craft my way up to a level that is higher than my actual level and get completely bankrupt and run around in circles going, I have no resources and I'm frustrated. That's what I normally do. I'm actually going to attempt to start out with a lot of gathering. I do have an end game and goal in sight. I'm going to probably go down the weaponsmith route to a bit of fun. I really do like to be able to make the things I use, but I'm going to try and leave that for a little closer to end game for once. Albeit, although I say I'd like to do X, Y, or Z, the minute I can mathematically show that I want to be doing anything even slightly different for raiding, even if it's to get the best build for that first tier gear going into a raid environment, then I will completely stand on my head and do whatever I need to do to maximize that. And I know that's always a juggling act. Do you want to create the sense of requirement to be a certain crafter? I actually enjoy that. I like the fact, hey, I went that extra mile. So I know they need to limit it, but I hope there's a little of it. We will just have to wait and see.
Fair enough. For me, in all honesty, I can't decide. I am so torn between the two different ways to craft that I can't quite make a decision. Because you have the ability to do, the circuit board crafting.
Mm-hmm.
You have the ability to do the coordinate crafting. And then on top of that, you've got the extra hobbies. What I will tell you, though, is I am blown away by the fact that crafting is not just simply making items or gathering mats. I mean, in the end, you going off and killing that giant worm who's trying to eat the tiny little chewa to get your mine node, that's all great and dandy, you're still gathering stuff. And you go to your little workstation and you build your little helmets because that makes you a really good chewa. That's how you do those things. Or you, Miz, go forth and make your weapons. But the reality is there's a full game in that. You have talent trees for crafting. You have schematics for crafting. And you have talents and tech tree, as I break that up because talent tree doesn't quite work. It's a tech tree and a talent. The fact that there is that kind of diversity just in crafting alone. I mean, you can look at the crafting, and for you, Mizpah, you know, if you're going to play a range because you like playing like hunters and typical stuff like that, and, you know, range DPS tends to be what you're attracted to, you know, if you want to go build those blasters, you can specialize in blasters and not touch a single sword in your entire crafting experience because of the way the trees work.
Which is good.
But the fact is, every choice you make on not just on what crafting professions you pick up, but the talent points you point into that, and then you mix in the amps, you have so much math to play with. I can't decide. I can't figure out what I'm gonna enjoy the most. I honestly can't. And then you have the hobbies, and I still have burned in the back of my retinas the image of the fishing pole gun thing that was released. So, you know, I will be blunt. I can't decide. I cannot make up my mind.
We'll obviously do mechanics in detail, probably on another show, possibly.
Oh, yes, we will.
There are some good things in there, but I won't go there yet. I will say that although some of the stuff I've seen I really, really do like it. I haven't seen what to me has been some of the best crafting I've ever seen anywhere. And some people might not like this one, but actually for me was Vanguard. The sphere of crafting and the
Did I just hear a mouth
amount
click?
of effort you had to put in to become the maximum, possibly.
I was kind of gobsmacked that he said something positive about Vanguard.
I actually like that. Okay, I love the potential of the game. I love the idea of the spheres. I love the concept of the politics. I loved the fact that to get to max level in crafting was as difficult to get to as max level in your character. And I enjoyed that aspect of the game because of the sheer time sink and difficulty required to enable you to do something that others couldn't do, and that appealed to me. It took EQ crafting kind of built on it.
I just seriously hope that with all the changes in my generation of raiders and stuff like that, you know, us people getting jobs and lives and getting married and stuff, we actually have the time to put into these time sinks for WildStar so that we can truly appreciate what they're trying to bring to us. Because, you know, I don't have the ability to sit there and play 12 hours a day anymore.
But even if we don't, I would hate to see it dumbed down to suit me as an audience, because there are a host of people coming through into gaming that deserve that rich experience that
I couldn't agree more.
We've been lucky enough to take advantage of in the past. The fact that I might not have 20 hours a day to raid right now, at least I shouldn't have 20 hours a day to raid right now, doesn't mean that other people don't. I don't think that's a silly example. Things don't need to require that level of time sink. But I would like them to require that level of strategic difficulty, decision-making, risk and reward. And those tenets can apply across the board. Don't make it easy. Make it worthwhile when you get there.
I can agree with that. Now, obviously, we are cutting close on the time. So what we'll do then is I will lead people in with a couple of things. We have an article coming up on MMOBuff about the amps. It is part of the Use series that is being written by Aiko. It will be up Monday. So you're going to want to check that out. You're definitely also going to want to check... I just keep saying this, Chua. You're going to want to check out Gazi's article that he wrote, by the way, on MMORPG, because that was a really awesome article. But
we should link that if people haven't seen it.
Yes,
It's a
Gazi.
really controversial article.
That's the thing. That's a topic for probably an MMOBuff Monday show, if you really want to get frank. You know, realistic expectations versus, like Mizpah said, personalizing the development. Oh, they've made a change I don't like, therefore I must turn into angsty troll. You know, that's a topic unto itself. But
I would say that there's a different way of looking at it, and that is looking at the setting and the lore and everything like that versus the mechanics from a general mechanic level all the way down to the moment-to-moment level. It's like, what am I going to be doing the most of? what kind of fades into the background.
Yeah. But yes,
Yeah.
so we have an article coming up on AMPS, and it's definitely going to be a real interesting one, so do check that out when it comes out. But what I'm going to say to my two hosts here, I've missed you. I've missed butting heads with you. I've missed the Chua. I've now been designated a Lopp. I'm not going to complain because I find them to be absolutely hysterical, despite the fact that they keep getting caught in traps. But they like roused hours. I like roused hours. They like hallucinogens. I don't. So that doesn't quite match up. But, you know.
I was wondering where that one was going.
But yes. So anyway, couple of things for everybody when it comes to MMO Buff. This Monday's MMO Buff, we are continuing our look into the trilogy, the Holy Trinity, the Holy Trinity of MMOs, and we have a tank discussion. And I had the honor, the privilege, and the probably one of the greatest times laughing, sort of like with Hive, but with NK from Death and Taxes. And he's got together with me to discuss tanking, and I will be bringing that show on Monday. You're not going to want to miss it. There are a lot of hidden stories. We actually tackle and talk about WildStar quite a bit, interestingly enough. So there is definitely, if you're a WildStar fan, even if you're not normally one of our Monday show fans, you're going to want to catch this. And if you're a hardcore raider looking to learn a little bit more about Death and Taxes, yeah, it's well worth it. And also, remember, folks, Team Barry, Team Casey from Campfire, try and figure it out. We have some changes coming up. Keep yourself in the loop. Just go to MMOBuff.TV. You can go to all of the things that we are attached to just from that website. Go follow, subscribe, like, share, do all those gorgeous things for us because you guys are awesome people.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you so much for being a part of us. If you have a suggestion or something you want us to tackle, you can contact us through any of the social spheres or just email us at voice@MMOBuff.TV. Now, Gazi, I'm going to let you start off the goodbyes. I don't think we'll be able to stick around tonight for a long chat because I think the three of us are literally dead tired. It has been a very, very long week.
Yep.
Apparently from, let's see, Jesper says, MMO Buff tells Pseudo to check Twitter, done too many Gazachuas. So apparently there are images up of the Gazachua. Oh, and there is a link. There's an off-topic question. Apparently,
and we're still waiting
guilds
for the
are in
Pseudo Lopp.
testing. Ah, yes. Oh my God. I've just seen the Pseudo Lopp.
Every single game in the world.
I am a Pseudo Lopp.
Every single game in the world, people are apparently doing stuff. Oh, where's the Pseudo Lopp?
The Pseudo Lopp is the latest image, and you know what? Hold on. Let me get the image up properly, and what I'll do is.
Jesper.
Yes, it is the
Trying
Jesper.
to load it.
I will load it over.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yes, there you go. And for those of you who are watching, I'll just, put the link into the conversation, or into the underneath stuff. But yeah, it is so funny.
I'll need to put that next to the Gazi Chewer.
That is just awesome. Thank you so much. Oh wow. But yes, so yes, Gazi, you get to lead off on the goodbyes. It's been an honor and a pleasure hanging out with you again, man. I have missed you, like seriously.
Thank you very much. I was going to say, do you like my tweed?
I do. I told you that when I saw you. I was like, you're looking really spiffy. The only thing is that, like, I don't understand the purpose behind collars when they go underneath the jacket lapels.
What, like shirt collar under
Yeah.
the jacket lapel?
I mean, I don't
Otherwise,
expect
they
you to
put
put
it
it
over the
up because
top.
to me, it just
It
seems
looked
like
like a doofus.
you would look like you're from the 70s and you could start, doing a
I
dance.
could not.
You
No.
could.
No.
Yes.
No.
It's
Apparently
tweed.
No.
chicks don't dance.
Yes, they do. Well, we've been told chewers don't smile, and we've seen, Gazzy smile a few times this particular episode.
Well, Mondo Zack smiles, so the Gaz has to smile as well.
Sometimes.
The Gaz. Can you see what the Gaz is smiling? Wow. Okay, well, fair enough. But yes, I'll let you say your goodbyes.
Goodbye from me.
And Mizpah.
And it's a goodbye from me. Sorry to not be around for quite so long. We've got a little bit more chaos coming up, and then we should be back into a solid schedule. And for anyone considering trying to organise a commercial lease on a premises and move and do stuff all at the same time, I have a quick tip. Don't.
And of course, this is Pseudo. I haven't done this at the end of a show in a while, and I think it's because I haven't had you guys. So it's the influence that you two have on me. So I'm going to just happily sit here and say thank you guys so much for watching Cosmotronic, and Toodle Pip.